G'day, Aussie Bonsai bloke here, how you go? Today I'm going to be working on this bottle brush. Got this bottle brush, you might remember last year at the Adelaide Bonsai show, not this year but last year. I bought it for the pot because it was in a big mica pot, which I've now put my my field grown Chinese elm in. You might remember that. So yeah, basically bought it for the pot. Didn't think much of the bottle brush because it was really weak. It was really loose in the pot, whereas now it's nice and strong. So it must have just been chucked in there. I'll try and get a photo up of what it did look like, and if I can't, you could look back at the old video, you'll see it. But anyway, it put on a lot of good growth last summer. So then I wired it up over the winter. I don't think it really had much branching at all. Maybe the main one at the top when I got it. Whereas now it's got a lot of branching. So my plan today, it's had its first style during winter, which I didn't show you, but I did a first style. And I'm going to give it another, cut the wire off today and then give it another style. It's starting to, the wire's starting to bite in a bit around the place. It's not too bad, but there's just a couple of places where it is. Then I'm going to rewire it all. I have a bit of a problem with the main trunk up here because there's a long bit there where there's no growth on. There's growth underneath it, there's growth out the front down here. But the main trunk, I'll show you, I'll give you a bit of a close-up anyway of what I plan on doing. Okay, so another thing, I carved out a couple of spots on the trunk as well. They've been carved out. And I also carved out the top of the main trunk here. But, and you can see it's still got new buds coming in different places. So, now this is a main trunk that's having a bit of an issue. You can see this whole trunk here is void of any shoots. You've got a shoot at the front there, that's the first shoot you get. And then it's got a little shoot coming off the back, so I'll keep that one. And later on, if it doesn't chuck out shoots through there, I'm not sure what I'll do. I may have to do an approach graft or something like that and just run past here and run a branch out. I don't really want to chop it off because it's quite an interesting branch with it starting to get a bit of bark on it. Don't really want to chop it off, and if I really get desperate, I can use some of these back branches here to go in closer and then come back out and fill this area in anyway, because there's a lot of branching back here, which is sort of what I've done a little bit anyway. And as far as the wire biting in, you might be able to see there, it's just starting to bite in a bit too much there. So what I'll do is I'll just chop it off, chop all the wire off, and then wire out the tree and style it. Okay, so basically all I'm doing is I'm going to go along here and just chop off the wire in sections. I'm not going to try and save the wire because I think trying to save the wire sometimes does more damage than just chopping it off. Probably safer for the tree just to chop it off like this. So I'll just go along and cut every bit of wire off this tree. It's going to take me a while. I'll just show you this little piece and then I'll do the rest off camera, I think. Save you the boredom of it. There's a couple of bits that have just bitten in a bit far here, but still it's not too bad. So you can see it's just started to bite in there, but it won't take long, and maybe another year and most of that will be gone. And you need it to bite in a little bit, otherwise the branch won't hold its shape. See how the branch hasn't moved at all now since it's been taken off? So that's good. Branch is stuck in the one spot. Bit of a funny bend in that one anyway. I don't know what I was thinking. But anyway, I'll do that over the whole tree and do it off camera, and then I'll get back to you and start styling it. Cheers. Okay, well, I've got the wire off. All my wires come off here. I'll have to get rid of that in the bin. Just a bit of a summary of the Bottlebrush. I haven't worked with Australian natives much at all, but from what I can tell with this one is they're extremely vigorous growing. And the branches, when you bend them with wire, they seem to hold really well. Like I reckon everywhere where I had a wire, they've held. And I also had a big guide wire, I think on this side one down here to the pot. No, it's on this side, sorry. This one here, I had guide wire down. And normally a guide wire takes a bit longer to set, but I cut the guide wire. It's only been there since winter, and we're now getting towards late spring. And I cut the guide wire and the branch didn't move at all, so looks like they set pretty well. You probably have a lot of trouble bending an old branch by the looks of it. They look like they will get brittle in the end if you got a really old branch that you want to bend, or even a few years old. It's probably starting to get too thick and too hard to bend. Yeah, I was just trying to, I think that branch at the back's actually broken. I think the reason why that weird wiring was there, it's actually fallen over from the wind at some stage. Snapped the branch down here and then bent the wire funny, and I didn't notice it was all bent funny. That's why everything at the back's all pushed that way, which is not ideal. I'm going to have to rewire some of it. Where the branch is broken, doesn't seem to bother. It's broken at least halfway through, maybe more, to the point where it's actually a little bit wobbly on that joint. But it happened a while ago looking at it, and it hasn't looked back. It's still growing fine, so extremely tough tree. Anyway, I'll get to styling it, so I'll run you through the styling again. I'll just do, normally I do branch selection first. I've already chosen my front. I think somewhere there gives you the best movement. You've got a nice trunk down there, good movement here, and nice bits of deadwood there. So I think that's your front. I'll just pull this out the way. You can see that big straight section in the main trunk. Well, not straight, sorry, it's bent, but no other branching, so there's just a single shoot. So that's going to be a bit of an issue later on, I think. I may keep one of these here at the base of it, just in case I have to one day cut that off and replace it, because it is in a good position, and there's some of these ones here. So I'll do that. I think I'll cut all of them off bar one, all those little shoots. So I'll still leave that one little shoot there. I'll just make sure you can see a bit better. I'll try and get in a little bit closer, but there is a big canopy on this tree to work through. So I'll just show you the base first. See, so it's got a nice base down there, and I think that gives you good movement with the trunk. And my plan will be to put that in that round red pot that I showed you, that I got from the Adelaide Bonsai show eventually. Maybe come next spring I might. So it'll be in here for another year. It's quite sturdy in here now. Yeah. So that shoot there's here. I'm going to leave that one just in case I have to replace this leader. I should show you that broken branch while I'm here. going to be pretty hard to show you. So just in there you can see it's broken there, and it does move on that bit just there, but it's alright, seems to be holding, seems to have knitted itself up really. Hard to do all the close-ups and stuff with all this leaf and stuff in the way. The camera tries to focus on stuff that I don't really want it to. Anyway, that's the back of the tree. Here's the front. I'll keep going at it. You'll also notice there's two little branches in the front here. I think I'm going to keep one of those. Wouldn't mind having another little branch in the front, because these bottle brushes are like a bit of a bush, so it's good to have a lot of different shoots and leaders and things. So I'll keep one of those. At the base of this branch here you can see I've got some shoots here. I'll get rid of those. That branch is a nice branch, I don't need to think about replacing it in the future. There's also another one on the inside there, I'll get rid of that. A lot of this stuff here, this little stuff here, can be wired out, and I'll probably chop it to length after I wire it. There's a weak tip, growing tip on the end here with vigorous stuff all around it, so I'll chop that off. I'll also chop it back to two, and I'll keep the two that are facing up, because with the Australian natives I like to, well, I think I'll try and go for a more upright sort of style like what you see out in the bush. Start off with a nice acute bend and then go out, so they'll always go up and then out. That's how our natives grow here in Australia, so if we want to start a bit of a Aussie style, I think that's what we should go for. We should go for a sort of upright growing branch structure and try and use some more natives. I haven't used much natives in the past, as you can see, but I'm going to start trying to get into them a bit more, because I think some of our natives are pretty cool. So it would be good to see some of our natives being featured a bit more. Go to a show at the moment and you don't see a lot of our natives in the show at all. There might be one tiny little section where you got 3 native trees, and then the rest of the show is all imports and deciduous trees from overseas. A lot of olives. I love olives as well, don't get me wrong, but I think we should do some more natives. Anyway, so basically I'm just choosing branches that I can keep, bend out, just to fill in areas. Basically just want to fill everything in. Don't really want to keep too many bar branches as such, although if you do have an empty space and you've got to use a bar branch to fill it in, go for it. Especially if it's up near the top of the tree, you're not going to really notice it later on. Just try to avoid 3 from one location. It's probably the biggest thing that you want to avoid. Just pick some nice positioned shoots here to take as your next shoot that you keep, and then just cut off the ones that aren't positioned so well. So here I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to keep only 2, and I'll probably keep 2 shoots there that go at more of an acute angle, not a real big angle. So I'll cut the inside one off, that can go, bottom one off can go. I'll just stand up, make sure I've got the right one here. There's a couple we can keep. It's a bit of a choice here. I think I'll get rid of the main top one, that looks a bit funny coming straight out like that. And you got some branching over here which will fill in this area. So you don't really want to keep this one on that side because you can fill it in with this lot. So I'll chop that off. That leaves us with 2. Then all you need to do is cut it back shorter so that it divides. Cut it back nice and short. Then wire it up and put a little bit of bend in it. And then let it shoot out again. And then repeat the process. Yeah, so just keep cutting away. Some of these shoots that I'm going to cut back on the inside here will be inside the outline of the eventual canopy of the tree. But there's no point in leaving it out to the outside of the canopy of the tree because then you've got a long straight section and then you've got the ramification. You really want the ramification right from the start. So you have to cut them back inside and then let them grow out again. And just keep cutting them back until they eventually get to the outside silhouette of the tree. And when they do, they'll be much more interesting because they'll have a lot of different divisions and angle changes and, you know, all that sort of good stuff that makes it interesting. Rather than if you just wire it all out to the outside and have a nice silhouette now, a lot of this stuff on the inside is going to be long and straight like that and then chop back and then just wire it around like that. But that's no good, so you've got to cut it back pretty hard, put some movement in it young. In the short term the tree won't be as good, but in the long term the tree will be much better for it. So always remember that. You want division, division, division. You don't want long straight shoots. It's tempting to leave them long and straight because it makes a nicer tree to begin with, but then in the long term you end up cutting it back anyway and you actually end up further behind than if you did it all just to start with. Okay, so I'll keep going through the tree and just do this. Just select the shoots that fill in the gaps, cut them back short, wire them out, and then see what we end up with. No worries, cheers. G'day, welcome back. I've got all the branches wired out. The little shoots pretty hard to wire, so I only did the bigger shoots. The really small shoots I'm gonna, I think, wire in winter when they've got a bit thicker and hardened off. The little shoots that I did wire, I don't think the wire can stay on very long before it'll cut in again once it starts shooting and back budding and growing again. Yeah, so that's about it. One thing you may notice, I haven't wired anything up the top. The reason why, I'm toying with the idea of cutting the top off, letting it bud out and reshoot. And then I think if I cut the top off, there's another long section here with no growth. I'm thinking about cutting that off too. Give it a bit of a spin. I know it's going to make the tree a bit naked for a while. I may even cut this back one off where where it fell over and squashed all the wiring. I'm not sure. I might cut that one off, this leader off, and this side one off. I don't know what you think, but it won't look as good for short term, but hopefully long term it'll improve it. I'll just go get the snips and I'll give it a go. Cheers. Alright, so I got my snips. I reckon I'll give it a go. I'm going to cut the top off. What do you reckon, Lucky? Cut it off? I'll cut it off about there. So there goes the top. Fairly bold move. Make sure that you're sure when you do this sort of stuff. There goes the side bit. And then this ugly back bit now that's all bent funny. There goes that bit too. So there goes all that. Now it looks a bit funny, but I'm hoping, given the vigour of the tree and how strong it seems to be at the moment, I've really got my fingers crossed that it's going to back bud here and put out a lot of shoots and create a lot better apex in the long run. And being apically dominant, these things are fairly apically dominant, so in the long run that should shoot out and fill in pretty quick anyway. In fact, I believe some people swap the tops out every few years anyway, so see how it goes. Should be good. Yeah, there's not much else to say. Have to regrow the side bit out there a bit, but see, now it'll be a lot more densely ramified and a lot better in the long run. Won't have this ugly bend at the back anymore. Pretty much, if anything's ugly that you can fix, you're better off fixing it early than leaving it there, because it's going to be forever ugly. You just have to hide it a bit in the foliage. And don't get me wrong, you can hide a fair bit of stuff. Once the tree develops, you can hide a fair bit of stuff in there, so don't be too worried if you've got a bit of a flaw in your tree. Just leave it there if it's been in there for a long time and it's sort of hidden. Nothing wrong with having a few flaws in your tree, but if you can get to it early like them, you know, it's a good idea. If I didn't do that now and I ended up developing it at the top there, all I would have to do then is fill in some of these branches, would have to cross over and come out the front and just fill in the area to make it look like there's a lot of shoots coming out of the main leader, even though there's not. Whereas now it should actually come out of the main leader. No worries. Cheers for watching Aussie Bonsai Bloke. Please like, share, subscribe, and I'll catch you later. Cheers. Oh, one other thing, I'll just give you a spin of the tree, I forgot about that. And also, I'll just show you, I've got a few flower buds on here, I'll give you a close up of that at the end as well. Cheers, no worries.